Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. It's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and in today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, current first-year pro, Sean Giles. Sean is currently signed to a contract with the Cincinnati Cyclones of the East Coast Hockey League. He also spent the last 4 years playing NCAA Division I hockey for Robert Morris University in Pennsylvania. Sean is also one of the hosts for his podcast, Adversity University, with his co-host, Garrett Metcalf. Welcome to the show, Sean Giles.
Hey, Jack. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So, Sean, how are you?
Doing well. Time's a little crazy right now. It's honestly a little bit of a mental grind. I haven't known where I'll be when I'll be playing since March. So things keep getting extended, pushed back this summer. Like you mentioned, my co-host Garrett Metcalf, he lives with me and we train together. And I remember we were working a little summer job at Home Depot. We saw the NHL playoffs were coming back. We were so excited, but then the wheels started turning. Well, if the NHL is going to start playing late, that means, the pro season is going to get postponed. So we thought maybe around November, December, we'd start. Now I'm hearing that my team is supposed to start in January. Just got another email that won't be till February. So, things are really uncertain, and it's been pretty crazy not really having a destination or a driving force for the training for the last, 12 months. That's what it'll end up being. But trying to make the most of it and trying to really, expand my horizons in other ways. Like you said, we started that podcast and kind of been looking around for some engineering type work because that's what my degree was in at school. So just trying to control what I can control.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you can do right now is control what you can control and just do whatever you can to just stay occupied and stay motivated throughout this time, because it is hard, because we have no idea when hockey's coming back. Like there's so many different options for these leagues to start and then keep getting pushed back. So like throughout these 9 months, like what have you been doing to at least stay ready whenever your season does come, and just training in general?
Yeah, it's been pretty much anything I can find. At first, everything was shut down, right? So there weren't any rinks open. There weren't any gyms open. Garrett and I were doing workouts up in the loft of my house with just whatever we had, a medicine ball, trying to run around outside. Not run around, but sprints and stuff. And, from there it evolved. The gym opened back up, which was nice. We have a training group here in Colorado at the rink I grew up playing in for the Colorado Rampage. And we get a good little group together of junior and pro guys. That's always a fun environment. So did that for a couple of months. They opened up a roller hockey rink here. So I've actually been playing a good amount of roller hockey, and that's really fun. It's a completely different game, honestly. It's more like lacrosse because it's more about possession. You kind of get it, set it up in your half, wait for a really good chance to attack. Whereas ice hockey's, a quick north-south game. So that's been fun. Just work on a little bit of the skill, a little bit of the vision. Hopefully it translates over. And now I actually found a pro group to skate with. So it's been cool having some NHL guys to be on the ice with and use as a measuring stick, right? Because as an athlete, you always want to push yourself to be the best. And you can be the best in your driveway, right? But you never really know how you stack up until you actually get on the ice with someone who's made it.
Yeah, exactly. And just throughout this time, like it gives you so much time to like work on yourself and like work on getting better. And because even though there's not a lot, like the gyms were closed and everything, the rinks were closed, you can still do a lot of stuff, like body weight stuff in your house, in your basement, your gym, your home gym if you have one. So there's definitely opportunities for you to use that and just get better. So like throughout like the summer, like did you like have like a specific training plan or did you just do whatever you felt like doing that day?
Yes, that's actually something we've been talking about a lot. I have a trainer. His name's John Eng. He's been unbelievable. Like I said, he's at that rink that I grew up playing in. So he's known me for a long time, knows what works with me. And um, we definitely have a plan. He gets me a workout plan every month. But it's crazy just talking to guys, seeing what they're doing, because growing up, it was a lot of, how much weight can you load up on the bar and squat, right? Like
Yeah.
if you squatted the most and you were the strongest, that meant you were the best in the gym. But it doesn't really translate on the ice as well as people thought. And it causes a lot of injuries, a lot of stress on your body. So people are doing, body weight stuff, like you said. It's a lot of prehab, I've heard it called. So you'll do like that band work on, common areas of injuries, your shoulders, your knees. And, it's a good balance now of trying to get stronger, but you don't really need to load up the weight as much. So there's like, I don't know if you've heard like the eccentric, isometric, stuff
Yeah.
like that. You kind of, it's about going down low, slow, controlled, getting a full rep in with less weight, and then like exploding up. And that's actually going to be more beneficial for you as an athlete and, do less damage on your body. So it's been fun to have that experience kind of switch around. And, I was never one of the guys putting up 500 pounds in the gym. I remember when I was a freshman going into Robert Morris, we went in and we had our off ice testing, and there were some monsters, man. There's some big guys putting up a lot of weight, and it's really intimidating because, before hockey even starts, you already feel like you're counted out just because, you're not putting up the same numbers these guys are. But what it seems to be coming down to more and more these days is how well do you play the game? And, the old saying, I've never scored a goal from the gym. Definitely need to spend the time in the gym. You definitely need to put in the effort, make yourself, better, faster, stronger. But I think that I've been trying to put more of an emphasis on those skills that apply directly to the ice. So just spending more time, stick handling, shooting pucks, while still getting in the gym every day, but, not trying to kill myself, especially during this long, prolonged off season. If you were, lifting as hard as you can for 12 months straight, I think you're going to be injury prone during the year. So
Yeah, exactly. And just like from like the start of quarantine, like I was doing pretty much the same thing. Like I was pretty much loading up in the gym as much as I could just from like March to like July. And then ever since then, it's just been like body weight stuff, especially like since my season already started. So like I'm just doing body weight stuff and like my body's never felt better. So just proves that you obviously need to go to the gym, but you don't need to put all that weight on the bar just because it doesn't really translate on the ice, like you said. And body weight has definitely been more beneficial for me, but again, everyone else is different. So like, but it seems like a lot more people are doing body weight compared to lifting heavy.
yeah, that's the thing too. Everyone's different. And that's why I like having Coach John so much. He's been with me for so long. I think he really understands my body, and we kind of have discussions before he'll make me a workout program. I'm like, hey, what kind of things do you want to work at? And I'm like, I want to work on my speed on the ice, and he'll make me a program that translates with it. Maybe it'll be a lower body day, an upper body day, a full body day, and then one day at the gym will just be mobility, and then one day will just be like some speed work. So sprints, cones, all that.
Yeah, exactly. And like mobility is definitely like it. I didn't really think of mobility until like this summer and like start of quarantine. Like mobility is a huge part of being like a good athlete, and it just helps your range of motion every way, and it just feels good on your body, and it's very beneficial, especially when you put it on to the test on the ice.
Aren't you a goalie? I think you should be pretty mobile.
Well, I now I am, but
Yeah.
I wasn't back then. But now I've definitely improved my mobility, so that's a good sign.
Well, it's good for the flexibility side of it. Like as a skater, if you can extend your stride length because you're more mobile, you're going to have more power, you're going to be faster, along with that injury prevention. So there's a lot of
Exactly.
benefits that come with it.
Yeah, exactly. So like going on to your pro skates, like you've had the opportunity to sign a contract this summer. So like what went into the process of signing a deal, especially in a time like this with COVID and everything?
Yeah, it was crazy. So at Robert Morris, there's obviously scouts at Division I games, but they tell them, hey, let us play out our season. Let us finish this out. We don't really want you, talking to our guys. And once the year ends, whenever we're eliminated, we will help you with everything you need. We'll get you directly in contact with them, all that. So it's kind of a mad scramble as soon as the year ends. But unfortunately, we were still in playoffs and we were still playing and, hopefully going for a run to make it to the tournament. But we we actually drove out. So we played Sacred Heart, which is in Connecticut, and we drove out Tuesday, had a practice halfway in Wilkes-Barre Scranton on Wednesday, had our morning skate for the game in Connecticut on Thursday. We were eating our pregame meal for game one of the 3-game series, and our coach walks in and, he just had this distressed look on his face, and he, broke the news, hey, guys, like, we're not going to be playing. And we kind of saw it coming because, guys are on the phone, they're on Twitter, they're seeing, basketball getting canceled, March Madness getting canceled. And it was just a matter of time, to be honest. But it didn't really hit any of us. And especially as a senior, he said, the tournament's canceled, where we might find a way to make the games up. And obviously a pandemic like this, I don't think it's ever happened before, especially at such a global level. So nobody knew what to expect. In my mind, I was like, all right, we're going to drive home and make up the games next week or make up the games in 2 weeks. We'll figure this out, find a way around it. Here we are 10 months later. But so it just ended like that. And I remember getting on the bus and, a couple of the guys like started giving me hugs and telling me congratulations on a great career. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, this isn't the end. And
You still got some more games to play.
yeah, get to put on the jersey one last time. I guess looking back on it now, not many people consider the last game was a win. So I guess I'll look for the silver lining there. But so it all ends, all pro leagues, everything. And in all the pandemonium, nobody was really looking to sign players. You're worried about other things. You're worried about how is my team going to play, right? So those pro teams weren't really reaching out to anyone. And as the months went on and the quarantine went on and on, it was the same old story. So talking to my advisor, talking to my agent, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, hey, nobody's getting signed right now. You just have to wait. And it's obviously you have to be disciplined to make it in your craft, whatever it is, but not knowing for so long is so hard because I was like, am I even going to get signed? What am I training for? And mentally, I think I let that wear on me. And, I just had to kind of kick it to the side because it's hard when you see other people like you're going back to college. You have something to train for.
Yeah.
I can't go back and I don't know if I'm going to have a spot next year. Should I be moving on? Should I be trying to find something else? And luckily, an old coach of mine actually grew up with one of the Cincinnati coaches, and they had talked about me previously and had the opportunity to watch me play. And he called me, and it was pretty much a no-brainer because a lot of those minor league cities are, not in the best towns, they're in really small towns. And, Cincinnati, Ohio has an NFL team, an MLB team. It's a really big city, really nice place. And really looking forward to get out there. I'm hoping it does start in February so I can get back to work, get back to what we've been doing for so long, right? But
Yeah.
it was a crazy process. And it wasn't just me. So it was nice to talk to my other seniors from my class at Robert Morris, and my friend Cam Strong here. He just graduated from Dartmouth, and we grew up playing together, playing against each other in junior, played against each other in college. So we were going through the same thing at the same time, and it's definitely important to lean on that support group when you are unsure, right?
Yeah, that support group's really important, especially as an athlete, especially as a hockey player. Like you go through everything from like ups and downs, like could be positive, could be negative, and like you need someone to lean on and just have your back and support you throughout everything because it does get hard on your mind and your and mentally it gets hard. So it's good to have that backstop for you.
Yeah, it just, everyone has their down moments. And I think the way that I've kind of been looking at it is I have a good support group of family, friends, and, one of them is going to be in the right mindset when I'm not, right? So if you reach out to someone, they're going to show you the bright side, right? And that's all it takes. And even if you don't want to hear it, you know what they're going to say. It's just the cliches, but you got to take it one day at a time. And I already said it, but control what you can control. Like nobody can change what's gone on. Nobody can end this quarantine sooner. And, we just kind of wait on the news and wait for the people who make those decisions to make them. And you just got to roll with the punches.
Yeah, exactly. And just like when just talk about like when you're not in bad in a good spot and then your friend, family, whoever is in a good spot, like they definitely do cheer you up. And it's like the same thing for me. Like I'd run cross country and track as well in college and like last year was a total mess. It mentally like everything was going wrong. It was going downhill for me and like all my teammates were there to lean on, so that was good. And then like I was getting lit up in hockey last year in a not so good division, but they were there to lean on me as well. So like it's always good to get those people to like come for you and make sure you're playing at your best when you should be.
Yeah. And it's hard not to compare yourself to others. Like you just kind of mentioned it, you considered not playing in a great division, but how many kids would love the opportunity to play where you were at? And that's something that I kind of look at when I was feeling down during my time in junior. I'd been in the North American League for about 2 seasons, and I was the captain, and I wasn't really getting interest. And the only schools that were talking to me didn't have engineering. And I knew I wanted that to be my major. And, it was getting hard on me. And I was, was down on myself. I was like, I'm not in the USHL. I'm not in major junior. I'm not committed. But then, it took that mindset and that perspective of how many people would kill for this opportunity. I need
Yeah.
to pick myself up, do what I've been doing to get me to this position. And that was, loving going to the rink every day, because that's a place where you can just forget everything. And the rink became a place where I was stressed and I was worried, like, oh, who's watching? Who's coming to the games tonight? Are they going to come down and talk to us after? And you can't think that way because it'll kill you. Because I played, 120 games and talked to teams after like 3-4 times. So if every game you're looking to talk to a scout after, it's not going to go well for you mentally, and you're going to self-destruct on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And just you gotta like separate like life from like your actual game. And that's how like I've found in like the stories I've heard is that you're most successful when you just focus on the game and focus on what you're doing at that time. Just take life and totally out and just play the sport you love. And like that's the most successful stories that I've heard is just take life, just don't think about life or anything that's going on besides your sport and like the game you're playing in right now. And it definitely does help for sure.
Yeah, and another piece of that support group is it has to be people who are gonna build you up. I've heard the saying before, like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's true. If you hang out with someone for long enough, you're going to pick up on their habits. You're going to pick up on, their work ethic. You're going to learn from them. And so I've really been trying to, surround myself with people who have gotten to the next level and people who are, really hard workers. Like not even in sports necessarily. So I reached out to one of my friend's dads because he's been really successful in the field of engineering. I'm just trying to pick his brain now. since I can't control when hockey's going to start, I asked him, do you think I should try and get my master's? Do you think I should try and find an internship? Obviously, those are usually during the summer, but, I have the time right now. And, they say work experience is so good. Should I try and get, a dual major? So just trying to lean on people, and like, people are willing to teach you. People love helping you learn, especially if you show that you are eager to learn and you respect them and you want to follow in their footsteps. It's fun to give people advice. Like at the rink I train at right now, it's where all the current AAA kids are. And, when they come in, if any of them have any questions about juniors or what to do, to stand out more on the ice, it's fun to talk about because everyone's been in those same shoes. And I think that's something we don't really think of or appreciate. Like for us, we look at NHL players, we're like, oh my God, these guys, they're unbelievable. They know everything that's going on. They make great plays all the time, but they did the same route. They played youth hockey, they played junior hockey, they played college hockey, major, junior, whatever their route was. And, they're at the end of the day, they're just people just like you and me. So.
Yeah, exactly. And just learning you could learn something new every single day, even no matter who you are. You be in the NHL and you still learn stuff every day. And it's just to take into account, like, I'm skating with these guys over the summer, and like a guy in the coast right now is just gave me some tips about how to play stuff better. I know we were talking about that earlier, and just like the learning aspect of the game, it's just, and like how willing people are to actually teach you and like give you advice. Like you're coming on to my podcast and telling our viewers about like what you've learned and your experiences and trying to get them to be better. So it goes both ways, and it's just awesome to see.
Well, you can learn from everyone. And even if you don't agree with what they have to say, I like to take in all the information. I want to see all the viewpoints and then make my own decision on what the best, route's going to be. Let's say it's hockey. I asked one guy how to play a 2-on-1, and I don't really agree with him, but I try and figure out why they think that would be a good way to play a 2-on-1, right? And then maybe it does change the way that I'll play it. Not exactly the same that he would do, but it'll change the way I will do it a little bit, right? Like it's just good to get in other people's minds. And I love talking to forwards. I love asking them, what some of their reads are so that I can almost, predict what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And just like I'm a goalie, obviously, so I talk to goalies a lot. But like when I skate out, like I'll pick people's brains because I want to get better at every position that I play. And it's just, if you have that drive, you want to get better, like someone's going to want to teach you. And that just makes you coachable as well, as learn what you want to learn new things and learn different systems, different whatever. And it's very valuable information. It's just to learn whenever you can. And just there's a saying that's like, you learn every game, you learn something new. It could be negative, could be positive, like you're learning something.
Yeah. And even outside of sports, the world we live in now, it's always changing, right? So technology is always being updated, and it's how can I use this other technology to help me with something different that I'm doing, right? And the ability to learn is more important than learning, those physical tasks that a company might want you to do, because those things are going to change over your, 30, 40 years that you're working, right? So
Yeah,
you always have to be willing to learn. And I think it's pretty arrogant to think that, you know enough to live your life how you want to, right? Like I don't know. It's fun to learn new stuff. I've been listening to different types of podcasts, and I was listening to the Jocko Willink podcast the last couple of days, and just crazy to hear the military side of things. And he's been, he was reading people's books with them. So not only were you getting some of the highlights of the already very well-written book, but you had the actual author and another very knowledgeable military person elaborating on it even more. And, those are just really eye-opening things. So I know that, podcasts are growing so quickly right now. There's podcasts about all sorts of stuff. So you can be learning at all times. And, even on the drive, you can listen to the same 10 songs for the 100th time, or, you can try and learn something new. So that's why I've really enjoyed doing the podcast. I know we talked about it. It's really fun to learn from people, and, build those connections because, yeah, just good to learn.
Yeah, exactly. It's like going into like your junior hockey route. Like you were like during your second year, you were a captain for the Lone Star Brahmos in the NAHL. It's like how big was that leadership role for you, and like just teaching like the younger guys like the ropes, especially like you're the captain, you're the one with the C on the jersey.
Yeah, it's I've always considered myself a lead by example kind of player. So I want to be the last guy on the ice. I want to be working on that craft, right? So every day, if you put in an extra 5 minutes at the end of practice, at the end of a season, you've put in hours upon hours upon hours of work, and it's on things that you want to work on. I think that self-reflection is so important, and being humble enough to know, okay, this is something that could be improved in my game. And like we talked about, then you talk to the coach. Hey, what are some drills or some things that I can do to do this better? Or you talk to your teammates who are really good at it. So more of a defensive defenseman. So I'll talk to my offensive defenseman and be like, hey, when you're in the O zone, what are your reads on this, right? Try to make myself a more well-rounded player. So just a lead by example guy. I'd be, the last guy on the ice all the time, and just always try and carry myself the right way, whether you're off or on the ice, just, it doesn't matter who you're talking to, whether it's the janitor at the rink or, the head coach. You treat everyone the same way. You treat them with respect. And I think that my teammates and my coach obviously saw all that. And luckily, I was fortunate enough to be named captain, which is, a huge honor because, your teammates have a lot of input into that. And when you're around other guys who are so good and, they kind of choose you to be their leader, it's not something that you take lightly. And I really enjoyed it every step of the way. And it's some of the other things we talked about too, like people who want to learn from you. I was in your steps, and in your first year of junior hockey, it's a tough road because you go from being the big fish in your pond, right? The big fish in the small pond of wherever you're from, to now you're playing with kids from all around the country and all around the world. My junior teams, my 2 years in Lone Star, I think we had 5 kids from Sweden, kid from Russia, kid from the Czech Republic. And it's crazy to see how big the world is and how many great hockey players there are. So, when you go from being that big fish to that small pond, and now you have to go to a junior team, and if you're fortunate enough to make it, you're going to spend some nights in the stands. There's older, more experienced guys who are going to get those minutes and that playing time. And, you're thinking, what am I doing? All my buddies are in college, and I'm here in Texas, sitting in the stands watching my team play. I'm not going to get recruited from here. But it's that hindsight of, it's part of your path, it's part of your process. And I think that as a player who had to go through that, because there are players who are fortunate enough to never be scratched and they get there and play all the time. But I had that experience, and I know what's going through players' minds when that happens. And the guys in the stands are just as important as anyone on the ice, because not only is there like a vibe around the team, if someone's dragging that down, it's going to drag everyone down, right? If you're miserable because you're getting scratched, your roommate's not going to be having a good time at home with you, driving the rink with you. So then he's going to be, down when he's at the rink too. And so everyone's so important. And, you never know when that injury is going to happen. The guy in the stands might be the guy who comes in during playoffs and scores that big goal. So it was just trying to keep everyone, mentally checked in for me, because, everyone's a great hockey player if they're there. I don't need to teach anyone how to play hockey. I don't need to keep anyone motivated or driven. The scholarships will do that on their own. It was more just keeping guys focused and let them realize, it's not just about today. It's not just about this game that you're missing, because it's a long road and you're going to be here for 2-3 years. And then hopefully you're going to play college for 4 years, and then, play pro for as long as you can, as long as you want beyond that. So it's just that, be better today than you were yesterday. And if you are scratched, hey, let's make the most of it, because now you have an off night where you can go get a workout in. You can watch the game from an outside perspective and really like take notice of things, like realize why these players are in the lineup and you're not. Man, this guy forechecks so much harder than me. I gotta up my compete level in the games, right? So that self-reflection, accountability, and just a lot of big lessons that I learned in my first year. I tried to pass those on, and hopefully the guys think I did a good job.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a great point, especially like reevaluating yourself. So like what would you do to like reevaluate yourself? Like you said, being scratched, like you just hit the nail on the head just with like why is this guy in, not me? Like what else would you do to reevaluate yourself and reevaluate your game and what you could bring to the table?
Yeah, I think that, first and foremost, you can't take it personally. Like, these coaches have a job to do. And people are like, oh, this coach hates me. He plays this other guy over me every time. And it's like, why is he doing that? There's a reason. If you were a better player, his job's on the line, right? You'd be in the
Yeah.
lineup. And so I think for myself, I don't really think I started evaluating that until later on. Like, hindsight's always 2020, but I wish as a kid, before I even made it to junior, I was always on the top line. I played power play, penalty kill, top line, shutdown, whatever it may be. And I think that I wasn't necessarily complacent, but I think that I didn't understand how big the world was. And I didn't realize, okay, I'm a high end player here in Colorado, but that doesn't mean much on a worldwide scale. So I just think that for me personally, I wish I would have kind of opened my eyes at a younger age to see, holy cow, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here if I want to, really achieve these dreams. And part of that's the learning curve too, because, my parents didn't play, and, no one with me really had parents that like did it. I know now a lot of teams have coaches that have like, when you're 12 years old, your coach is a former NHL player. It's like, wow, this guy, he's going to have a ton of great advice, a ton of great insight, great person to learn from, and you don't even have to seek him out. So, it's not really something that I could have totally controlled, but, like they say, hindsight's 2020. And I wish I had a little bit more knowledge of just how big the world is and how hard you have to work to make it in anything. It's not just sports, the real world. If you want to be the best at anything, it's going to take a lot of hours, a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. So like going into your college career a bit, after your 2 years of juniors, you decided to go to Robert Morris University. So like what went into that decision to pick Robert Morris as your school and then fulfill not just athletics part, but like your engineering degree as well?
Yeah. So once I got to junior, in my first year, I only got one phone call from a college. We had a really old team, and the next year we actually only returned 3 players because we had so many 20-year-olds and all of them went to school. So my first year, I got one call from a D3 school, and he asked me point blank, hey, this is so-and-so from this school, and we're interested in having you come along. Do you know what you'd like to study? I was like, study? I want to play college hockey. So it really hadn't even crossed my mind. And so I spent the next few weeks, researching degrees. And my dad is a aerospace engineer. So he actually worked at NASA. He's a
Sick.
rocket scientist. Drop that for him. But, and then his dad was a really smart guy. He was a doctor. So I'd always kind of debated, whether to go the medical route or the engineering route. And a couple more the next season, I was playing well, and a couple schools called me, but they didn't have engineering. I think most schools have like some sort of pre-med program, but I kind of determined, I played 2 years of junior hockey before going to college. I want to play professional hockey for, a while, hopefully. And, going to 8 years of med school after that, I'm going to be 40 years old before I start making any money. Right. So I figured the engineering degree was a good middle ground. And it was tough though, because I think I had 2 or 3 schools that were interested in me, but I had to tell them no because they didn't have engineering. And it got to a point where I almost compromised that. And a school called me once, I think, around November. They came, talked to me in person, called me a few times. Um, they actually, he's like, yeah, we don't have engineering, but like, let me see what I can do. And I was like, what do you mean? And he calls me a couple days later. He's like, I talked to the head of our finance department and he studied engineering in school. He says like, they're pretty much the same. It's like, what do you mean, man? No, they're not. They're not the same.
Not even close.
Yeah, right. But it was so hard to turn that down because the school did have a lot of upside and it would have been an incredible opportunity. But that was another mental thing. I was like, am I shooting myself in the foot here? Because as a hockey player or as any athlete, you spend so long trying to get that scholarship. You spend so long working to make a junior team. And, finally the choice is kind of in your hands. So there's so much pressure not to blow it because it's been about coaches picking you and now you get to pick them. And it's like, what am I doing here? Like I've worked so hard for this and I'm turning people down. So they actually called me again in like February. He's like, hey, we found a little bit more scholarship money. Like, have you changed your mind? And I was like, I don't know. I think if it would have been my age out year, it would have been different, but I still had a year of eligibility left. And I had talked to a few USHL teams, and the USHL has like a 98% Division I commitment rate. So I felt pretty good about my chances of getting a school with engineering. Waited it out. I actually went and skated with USHL team. I went and skated with Youngstown for a week when my NAHL team didn't have anything going on. And it was late. I think it was April. So we were already in playoffs for my junior team. And just another quick funny story. A different coach called me and I was so excited. He's like, hey, this is, another Division I school. What are your plans for next season? I was like, oh, well, I've talked to a couple of USHL teams and I might get drafted there. So just going to finish this playouts out and hopefully play in the USHL next season. And he was like, what? How old are you? It's like 96. He goes, oh, I thought you were an age out. All right, well, we'll recruit you next year and I'll call you then. I was like, oh my God, like so close, but so far. Right. So, then I think a week or two into playoffs, I got my first call from Robert Morris. And to be honest, I had never heard of it. They said Robert Morris, and I was from being a West Coast guy. I know a lot of the D1s, the Denvers, CC, North Dakota. I grew up watching that conference. So I didn't really know a lot of the Eastern schools. And I thought it was a D3 call. But he said, Division I, and I was really excited. And I looked up the school. They had engineering, and they actually had biomedical engineering, which I thought was a pretty cool crossroads between the medical route and the engineering route. So I just finished that degree and, not really sure what I want to do exactly in that field, but hopefully hockey can start again soon and I don't have to worry about that for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So that was an awesome story about like how you decided to pick Robert Morris. So going into your first year, like, did you have any expectations at all, or were you just there to hopefully find some success playing hockey and in the classroom as well?
I've always been a good student. I think that that's something that I can't express enough to the young listeners out there is you have to take care of your grades because it opens so many doors. There's only 61 now Division I hockey teams. So there's only 61 schools that can give you an opportunity. And a lot of those are Ivy Leagues. You've got your Harvard, your Yale, your Dartmouth. And even if they're not Ivies, there's schools like RIT that are really prestigious and really hard to get into. So if you don't have good grades and you can't even get into the school, you've just closed those doors on your own. And even the other schools that aren't as academically prestigious, if you have really good grades, they can give you athletics or academic scholarship and not have to use as much of their athletic scholarship. And coaches love that because there's restrictions on how much athletic scholarship you can give out to maintain the parity within the league. And so I was one of those players where my scholarship was combined with academic and athletic. And so that just, it really helps out the teams. And they love to see guys with good grades because they know, like I said earlier, you have to take care of your stuff on and off the ice. So can't stress the grades enough. Obviously, I was a little nervous because you played junior hockey for 2 years. You're out of school for 2 years. The first few weeks back in the classroom are a bit of a culture shock. But like I said, just use that support system. I think all the freshmen hung out, did homework together all the time. So the academic side of it wasn't too much, wasn't too overwhelming, luckily for me. And then athletically, actually during my recruitment call, I had another year of junior eligibility, and I knew that I could, probably play in the top league. And I told the coach flat out, he asked me, do you want to play another year junior? Do you want to come in this year? And I said, well, I don't want to sit in the stands. So if there's an opportunity to play, I'd come in. But if there's not, then I'm going to play another year junior. And luckily, Robert Morris only carried 8 defensemen at the time. A lot of the schools I talked to carried 10. So right there is a huge opportunity. Being, top 6 out of 8 is a lot easier than top 6 out of 10. And so it was a struggle though. You get there and it's starting new all over again, because now you're competing against older, stronger, more mature players who also have been on that team for years. So they understand the systems, they know the school, they're not overwhelmed by, the college experience or anything like that. So they're, up until Christmas, just the same as junior hockey. I was sitting in the stands, watching the games, trying my best when I got in the lineup. And I actually got a really good piece of advice from our skills coach. I just played a game against Dartmouth, and they put both freshman defensemen in the lineup, and I was scratched the next game. And he came up to me and was like, hey, how you doing? He could tell that I was, distraught. And he was like, it wasn't that you played bad. It's just that you played so nervous to not make a mistake that you didn't make anything happen. And so it's that confidence piece of, you're there for a reason. You're a good player. You have to play your game. And it kind of keeps coming back to things we've talked about before about, not worrying, and just, you get on the ice and it's stress free. You have to be the player you are and, have fun. So, just lessons learned again. And I think I was a little intimidated, like I said, by all those huge guys in the gym that were squatting 500 pounds, but it was a good learning experience. My freshman year was actually the best team we had, in my opinion. We made it to the conference championship against Air Force, and whoever won that game went to the tournament. And we actually gave up a school record in shots against, only gave up 13 shots, and we lost 2-1. And Air Force went on and upset the number 1 seed in the country at the tournament the next week. And it was I don't know if I was rooting for them or not, because you want to root for your conference. You want to, I want the Atlantic Hockey Conference to have success, but not the guys who beat us by 1 goal, right? So
Yeah.
Then the next year they actually beat us again in the finals. So got a little bit of a beef with Air Force.
Yeah. That's awesome. The rivalries are always good for the making, and makes good memories, that's for sure. So going into the mindset you had, and before you had all the confidence and you're playing nervous, what would be your mindset going in, and when you were nervous compared to when you finally started to realize that you had to relax and just play your game and think positively and have that confidence in yourself that you deserve to be at that level and you deserve to be getting that opportunity?
Yeah, something for me as a defensive defenseman, obviously, the points aren't there. I don't get the power play time, and people judge athletes by points. So, you look at the stat sheet before every game, and pretty much the only thing under every player is their points. Or for you as a goalie, it's your save percentage, your goals against, your major stats. And so that's something that weighed on me. You're going into, I didn't score a goal until my junior season. And, they mean well, but guys are like, oh, I never thought it would happen. And, they're just joking around being the boys, but that weighs on you. And it's something that was in my head a lot over the last few years. And I think my mindset early on was, I was just overanalyzing everything. I was like, you get to the rink 2 hours beforehand and there's only so much time that you're actually warming up with the team. There's a lot of time that you kind of prepare on your own. And I was just overthinking everything. I was, so worried about the way I was taping my sticks, so worried about, where I was going to go listen to my music beforehand. And it was just a comfort thing. Like once I started making some plays and realized, I can play at this level, I'm here for a reason. And my captain my freshman year was amazing, Rob Mann. He's the best captain I've ever played for. And he's a similar situation as me. When he was a freshman, he sat in the stands, he knew what it was like. And he really helped me along. And he's still someone I talk to today. And it was just feeling welcomed by the guys. And actually my first game I played, I got a D-to-D pass behind the net and I kind of looked up ice, didn't see anything, looked back to the D-to-D, didn't see anything, looked back up ice, and then eventually made, a nice little soft play. And I'd held onto the puck for a long time and I got crushed. Right. So I get back to the bench and I'm rattled. And one of the seniors leaned over me. He's like, oh man, that was great poise. I love that. And just so little things like that, the boys were so helpful. And at that time, they're obviously your support group. And it was just being comfortable with the guys and learning that I could play at that level. I stopped worrying about the details. I started just having fun, playing sewer before the game. And just, it is a game at the end of the day, right? We
Yeah,
take it so
exactly.
seriously because we love it so much and we want to be the best, but it's just a game. And that's something that we have to all remember.
Yeah, for sure. So, what was that first college goal feeling like? Especially since it took you
Oh,
3 years. You must have had so much emotion. You must have been dreaming of that, scoring that goal, and then you finally get an opportunity to score a goal.
yeah, I actually I got chirped for it a little bit. We were down 4-0, and one of my players that I played with in junior, he turned a puck over right in the slot. I stepped into it, picked my spot, scored the goal, and like you said, first goal in 3 years. I was fired up, right? Turn around, big pumper, and the captain the year before, who I was roommates with, so we were really close. He texted me. He wasn't on the team anymore. He goes, "Man, I can't believe you sallied like that, down 4-1." I was like, "Dude, you got to give me a break." First one in 3 years. I needed that. But yeah, it just validates all the work you put in because, like I said, stats are so valued and they're at such a premium. And I know that there's other things I add to the team, but when your friends back home are looking up your stats, or your friends back home who don't even play hockey are like, oh, how many goals did you score? It's like, well, I'm a defensive defenseman, so 0 my first 2 years. It was really tough. But like I said, it's that self-evaluation, something I've been trying to work on a lot, and hopefully I can increase production as we move on here.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome how you scored your first goal and given this the big celly. Did you get chirped by the other team being like, "Hey, buddy, it's 4-1 scoreboard"?
Yeah. Luckily, I turned away from them, and I think that they were pretty frustrated with the turnover. So they didn't say anything. I turned away, went straight back to the bench. I didn't really hear anything. I did get a text from the guy who turned it over, though. It's like I said, we played in junior. I think he said, hey, you're welcome for your first career goal.
And you have the goal there. Doesn't matter what happens. A goal's a goal.
Yeah, they don't ask how, they ask how many, right?
Exactly. So going throughout all the games and place you've traveled throughout your college career, where has been some of your favorite spots that you guys have been able to travel to?
I'd actually go back to junior hockey first. We got to play in Wenatchee, Washington. So my first year in the North American League, the Wenatchee Wild were in the NAHL. They've since switched leagues. They play up in a Canadian league now, but That place, I think it's, 2 hours west of Seattle. So it's really close to the ocean. You can't actually see the ocean from there, but it's gorgeous. It's the clearest water I've ever seen. We went up there in a playoff series. It was a best of 5 and we had won the first 2 games. So we went up there and we had to stay the length of the 5-game series, but we actually swept them. So we had a couple days to just, hang out, be a team. We went mountain climbing one day and went to this pond, and you could see like crystal clear 10 feet down in the middle of the pond. And it was just really gorgeous place. And their rink was really cool too. For a junior rink, it had like a pro style. It had full lower bowl. Everyone's wearing jerseys, had the electric ring that goes around the top, and Jumbotron, box seats. So that was a really cool experience. And then in college, a lot of places have really nice barns, but I think it kind of comes down to the student section. That's really the big draw of college hockey, is the atmosphere there. And there's certain schools that have bands and fans that are crazy. And being in Pennsylvania, we got to play Penn State pretty much every year. Their barn was pretty crazy. Saquon Barkley came out in between periods one time, and that place erupted. We were in the locker room, and it was 10 times as loud as when they scored a goal. That guy was a god there. But their students would show up, just as early as we would. They'd be there 2 hours before the game. And then during warmups, you're on their side. So they have all their custom signs on the glass, chirping you. And RMU had like a money issue. I don't remember what we had to cut like a department or something, and we played them, and they had RMU, recently moneyless university. Like, people put in time to like chirp you. And RIT is another one that has a really great student section. They haunted us. I remember my first weekend ever of college hockey. I got scratched the first game, and I think we lost like 6-2. And the student section, every single time they score, so let's say they scored 3 goals, they hit a bell. So it goes ding, and then they all yell 1, ding, 2, ding, 3. We want 4. It's all your fault. It's all your fault.
Like
And
the
all the way,
the Preds.
yeah, exactly. All the way up to 6. It was like, oh my. And then, so we got throttled that first night. So the second night I got to play. And same thing. We went down like 5-1 in the second period. And I was just sitting on the bench like, these guys are giving it to us. And just a bad feeling when you're not playing well and you have all those people just loving that you're not playing well. That was actually a crazy game because the first night our starting goalie got hurt. The second night, our backup gave up 5. So they put in our freshman, who's actually my roommate and my best friend while I was there. And he played really well. And we came back and won 6-5. And one of our forwards had 3 goals and 3 assists. And it was just a crazy first game to be a part of. So I'll always remember that barn in that game. And then Bowling Green actually had a really good student section as well. I can't remember what they called them. But yeah. Good places to play in, and it's cool when you go in barns like that. I think Rob Blake played at Bowling Green, and he was an idol for me. I wore number 4 growing up in Colorado, obviously a big Avs fan. So seeing a big plaque with him, he's an alumni, and it goes back to that, everyone that you look up to has gone through the same route as you. So it was crazy to, play in the same barn that one of my idols growing up played in.
Yeah, those are some awesome stories. It's crazy how much the students take time out of their day to create some chirps and posters and just mess around with you and just chirp you guys and love how you're not playing it well. It's unreal.
Going back
love
to
that college
RIT real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
We had brothers. So we had one of the brothers and they had the other brother on their team. And the signs for that one were hilarious. Like it went from little things that were as easy as like, Abbott greater than Aiden, which is like their player better than ours. And then it was like list of who the Gerdukis parents loved the most. And it was like their player was first, and then like their sister, their dog, like everything they could list. And then like, 11 was our player. And so just funny little things like that. And I've heard some crazy stories about, if you're in the penalty box, I think at North Dakota, like they've researched like your family's names, your girlfriend's name, and they'll be in your ear.
I
They'll
heard
be
about that
ruthless.
too. It's crazy how that's what makes the college hockey atmosphere so much fun. It's just the student section as well with the game, but like it's the student section's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, and the band is really cool too. We had a great band at Robert Morris. They would travel with us, and they would get on a bus. And if our women's team was in Wisconsin and we were in Buffalo, half of them would go to Wisconsin, half of them would go to Buffalo. So those guys were really dedicated too, and they made it a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like what was the craziest game that you've ever played in college hockey? Like it could be like a full on like gong show, like whatever.
So that first one I ever played against RIT was pretty crazy, but I think we played against Penn State. I want to say it was my junior year. And Penn State, when they first became a D1 team, they really struggled. So they played us, and I think we won like the first 4 games. But since then, they've been a powerhouse, right? Like they've been really good lately. So, they won the next few games after that. And our school advertised it like, the Battle of Pennsylvania. And we actually set up a student section for the first time at our rink just for that game. And everyone from Pennsylvania knows Penn State, right? And they're going to our school, and they're like, oh wow, we can be better than like the big dog at hockey, because hockey is really the one sport where you have a chance, right? Like if our football team played theirs, it's just the parity's not nearly as close. I think that's the great thing about college hockey is anyone can beat anyone. So packed barn, Penn State student sections there with their signs, our student sections there, our bands there. And we have a pretty small rink for college hockey. I think it seats, 2,500. And so it was loud. It was fun. I think going into the third period, it was tied 4-4. And then I don't know what happened, man, but the floodgates opened and we lost 11-6. And it was like everyone was so fired up. The first 40 minutes were so fun. Like their students are like chanting, our students are chanting. And then the third period, it was like 5-4, 6-4, 7-4, 8-4. And then people are like starting to walk out. You're like, ah, shoot, we blew it. But yeah, 11-6 in a college hockey game is not something I thought I'd see.
Yeah, that's crazy how much the momentum can change from 4-4 and go 11-6 like that. That's insane. But like the stories are like the best parts of that, and just how much fun it was to play before you guys gave up 11. Just being in that building with the atmosphere just must have been like crazy.
Yeah, and the best positive game I remember is my freshman year, the Pittsburgh Penguins played the Philadelphia Flyers at the Steelers Heinz Field.
Yeah.
And so we got to play the next night against Niagara. And so we went and used the guest NFL locker room where the Flyers had been the night before, and got to play on the outdoor sheet that the NHL guys had played on the night before. And honestly, it was an outdoor rink, but it was like top 5 sheets of ice I've ever skated on in my life. It was so well maintained, so much fun. A ton of the school was there, but it's an NFL stadium. It seats 80,000 people. So,
yeah.
But our benches were like heated, and all the amenities were there. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Just being able to skate on the outdoor rink just the day after the Flyers and Penguins played must have been huge for you guys, and just experiencing like the top 5 best sheets that you've ever skated on must have been unreal.
Yeah, it was cool because the Flyers, like, they left a bunch of stuff there because I think they knew we were there. So a bunch of like, Muscle Milk Gatorades, and then you could see some of the jokes that they played on each other. There was a whiteboard, and someone had written down like media, and they wrote the names of the guys that needed to go out for media. and in a different color. So, it's like one of the players or trainers had like crossed out 3 of the names and like written down a couple different names. Like it's just cool to see, even at that level, like they're just the boys just like us. They're just loving what they're doing and having a great time.
Yeah, they're just having fun. Just that's all there is to it, is just have fun and work hard and just have fun. So that's the main part.
Yeah. I think you have to really like love to work hard. You have to enjoy that grind, enjoy that process. Cause especially right now with COVID, like I said, like so many seasons are canceled. So it's really uncertain right now. You have to really enjoy and embrace the grind.
Yeah, exactly. And the grind and the process is, there's nothing like it. Like it's your process, your grind time, and it's a story for that you're creating every single day. You get on the ice, work out, like anything you do to help yourself get better.
Yeah, it's fun to look back on it too. Like, right, I haven't really looked back on a lot of these stories in a long time, so it's been fun that you've been bringing these up.
Yeah, we're getting some quality content here.
That's the goal.
Yeah, that's good. It's like, what are some tips that you'd give like younger hockey players looking to jump to that next level?
The first thing, the biggest struggle for me was comparing myself to others. There was another player in the state. His name is Brandon Carlo. I don't know. He plays for the Bruins. He's been there for 4 years. He's
Yeah,
a really good friend of mine. We grew up playing together, and he's awesome. He's a great dude. I can't be happier for him and all the success he's earned. But it was tough because, we're the same age, and, he's getting drafted to the WHL, to the USHL, getting scholarship opportunities, which he didn't even end up using. And it's really hard because, not just him, but lots of players in the state are getting opportunities. And, you think, I'm working so hard, I'm doing everything I can. And like you said, everyone's path, everyone's process is different. So I think the number one thing is you just have to be better than yourself every day. That's who you're competing against, because I can't change the fact that someone else has an unbelievable shot. I can't change the fact that, someone else in the state is the fastest skater. Obviously, you want to work on those things and be better at them, but you're not competing against them. You're competing against yourself. So, if you're better today than you were yesterday, and you build that up along your career, let's say, like I said, if I could go back younger, if I started living by that mindset when I was 12 years old, I'm 24 now, I'd have 12 years of, work that's stacked and accumulated. And, I definitely did put that work in, but I think that a lot of kids today, especially in the age of like social media, where you get that instant satisfaction, right? Like you post a picture and within a few hours, you might have a couple hundred likes.
yeah,
And it's that instant gratification that it doesn't exist in the real world. And there's so much effort to put in, so much time to put in, and all you have is today. So you have to make the most of the opportunity you have. And secondly, I'd say be creative. There's a lot of tools and little machines that people are coming out with. They're like, oh, you want to, I think of like the perfect push-up. Like, oh, you want ripped pecs, you got to buy these perfect push-ups. It's like, no, like be creative, make the most of what you do have, try and find a place, to do those simple things, because the best players in the world are the best at the fundamentals. They're the best at, shooting, stick handling, and those are things that you can do absolutely anywhere. You can stick handle a golf ball in your basement or in the garage and work on those little things. Just be creative and make the most of what you do have, because like I said, you have to be fortunate and think about the position that you have that a lot of other people are really jealous and would kill for.
yeah. Those are that's some great advice, great tips. Couldn't have said it better. Like everything you said, it was totally 100%. Like I could, like, it was just awesome what you just said. It's like I have a few more questions for you before we end this thing. So like I want to move on to like your podcast a little bit, just shine some light on that. We did the same thing with when Garrett came on, but just to do it again, like how much fun was creating podcasts and like creating Adversity University? Like what was the main like objective or the the main thing that you guys have gotten out of creating these podcasts?
Yeah, we talked about it before, but they're a lot of fun. I did not anticipate how much fun it would be to, get these strangers on and just hear about their stories and learn about them. And it's really opened my eyes to how, I guess, charitable is not the right word, but how generous people are, with their time. And like I said, they want to help people. And the goal behind Adversity University is, we've gone through this process. Garrett's in his 5th year of Division I, and I'm hopefully entering my 1st year of professional hockey here. And we want to shine the light on the process. And like we just talked about, everyone has a story, everyone has a path. I don't care if it's sports or, your career, whatever it may be. So we've been trying to get a really broad spectrum of guests. We had the NASA flight director on, Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, along with a ton of athletes. And it's been really cool because everyone has different advice. And we've kind of been trying to talk about the hard things. We've had guests who have gone through depression. We've had multiple guests who have contemplated and even attempted suicide. And they're really hard things to talk about, but they're really important. And I think right now I've had more friends struggling with mental health in the last 6 months than I have in my whole life. And that's probably a part of being older and more mature, but it's also a part of this quarantine because it's really shut everything down and it's shut people out from their support groups, from, their safe havens. For you and me, it's a sheet of ice, and they close down a rink, close down a gym. Yeah, you might be saving people from the virus, but you're really hurting people's mental health, your physical health, because now you can't work out. And we're very social creatures. We need that human interaction. So a lot of people have been struggling, and for those reasons, and also, just advice on the grind. And at the end of the day, some good stories too, because I've learned some crazy things about people that I never knew. And I learned a lot of crazy things about people that I've known for years. And so it's been really fun to have a platform to, help people open up and share their stories. And like we talked about, it's really fun too.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much fun just talking to like random elite athletes that are going through the same thing you're going through, and like they want to help you get to that next level and get to keep developing. So like it's so much fun like hearing their stories and like all the advice they're giving you, and just they want you to succeed. Like that's like every person that I've talked to wants like the viewers, themselves, myself, to succeed in life and in the sport that you chose. So it's definitely like brings everyone together. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something I ever saw myself doing, but now that we're, 34 episodes in, I'm really happy that we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any you got any more special guests coming on?
Yeah, we have a few things lined up. Hoping to get Pierre McGuire on here soon. We had him lined up, and apparently he just did an episode of Spit and Chicklets, so a little rattled about that. But we'll change it up. We'll listen to that episode and try and dig deeper, because Spit and Chicklets obviously is more about the the funny, the dirt stories, and we're more about how he's overcome his path to success. But yeah, besides that, it's fun. You just reach out to different people and see who they know. Like we got Larry Robinson on, 10-time Stanley Cup champion, and just talking about the podcast in the locker room one day. And one of the guys we trained with was like, "Oh, I billeted with Larry Robinson's niece. Maybe I can get him on." We're like, that's a crazy connection that I never knew existed. And next thing you know, I have Larry Robinson's email and we're shooting back and forth about when we can do an interview. So that side of it's definitely been fun, but it is hard to find guests. It's hard to find, quality content like we talked about, week by week. I guess we've done it, like I said, about 34, 35 times by now, but it's cool because as it grows, more people reach out as well. They're like, "Hey, I know so-and-so," or, people will reach out personally and be like, "Hey, I I struggle with all these things, and I'd love to share my story. So can't ruin any of the surprise guests yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's all good. Like all your episodes are great, so it doesn't matter who's
I
coming on.
appreciate that.
Doesn't matter who's coming on. I already know it's gonna be great. So there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So that's awesome. Everything you've been saying, like this whole episode has been awesome. Like got some great valuable information for all our viewers out there that are listening. So Sean, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and want to wish you the best of luck going forward with the season hopefully starting soon. And maybe I'll take a trip down to Cincinnati if fans are allowed, of course.
Yeah. Hey, you know who to reach out to for tickets. Hopefully we can get people in the building and play some hockey soon. Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed meeting you and discussing some of these important things.
Yeah, no problem. It was fun.